the government shutdown is over. The Congress is negotiating amongst itself whether or not they can come up with border wall funding over the next few weeks before the next deadline on whether a budget is signed into law or an appropriation is signed into law by the president or not. And the president is indicating, and it's pretty clear, the Democrats on the Hill don't want any money for a border wall here, any new money for a new border wall. So the president may declare a national emergency and use the powers the law gives to him, and the law does give him these powers, to take money from the military budget to defend the border by building a wall. Now, it's about time that we acknowledge the national emergency on the border. Now, the president's response is to declare an official national emergency, or it looks like that might be his response. Of course, Congress is dithering because it's controlled mostly, and I mean this on both sides of the aisle, the leadership of both sides of the aisle is not terribly interested in taking additional steps to secure the border. The leadership of both parties don't want a border wall. If they had wanted a border wall, it would have been done under the Republican Congress, and it obviously isn't going to be done under a Congress controlled by both Democrats in the House and Republicans in the Senate. And so the president is reading the tea leaves, and he evidently has decided he's going to proceed with a national emergency, which will be controversial, but likely upheld in the courts. But still, it's an important development in the sense we have a president, as I previously told you, who is finally talking correctly about the border in terms of its dire national security impact on our country, it's a threat to the public safety, and the humanitarian crisis that's caused as a result of an open border. Because, you know, the left and the open borders crowd likes to tell those of us concerned about the rule of law and immigration that you're anti-immigrant or you don't like illegal aliens. Actually, it's the exact opposite. If you value the lives and humanity of illegal aliens, then you want to end illegal immigration. Because the illegal alien human smuggling operation that has resulted from our open borders is a humanitarian crisis. It results, as the president has highlighted, in mass abuse of the aliens caught up in it. It leads to sexual abuse. It leads to crimes against these aliens in terms of extortion and other crimes like that. So the idea that you'd be in favor of an open borders regime that encourages that type of activity tells me that you're actually maybe you're the ones, those of you on the open border side, who don't care about illegal aliens. Because I can tell you, I care about the illegal aliens who are killed as a result of the trek that they undertake because of the giant welcome sign that is our open border. You know, I think we should be against human trafficking, and that's what illegal immigration is these days. And anyone who tells you otherwise is ignoring the truth. And so I don't know what the president's going to do, but I can tell you he can't do enough in the sense that the crisis is urgent enough to really take strong steps to secure the border. And I've previously highlighted the need, I believe, for the Defense Department and the military to take the lead in securing the border. We've had this decades-long experiment with civilian security at the border, and it isn't working. I don't think it is going to work even with a wall. So I do believe the military is an essential component of any security at the border. Another idea that I think is very much worth considering is designating the drug cartels that are behind much of the humanitarian crisis I've highlighted and the drug scourge at the border that's led to, I think the latest number of murders in Mexico is 33,000, some crazy number like that, which is up from 26,000 from the year previously. It's a war in Mexico. So these cartels are essentially terrorist entities, and we've highlighted the links with Islamic terrorists these narco gangs have. So we think it's appropriate to consider designating these organizations as foreign terrorist organizations. And that obviously would give the president and our government much more many more options in dealing with them more directly, to put it charitably. Both kinetic and security actions that can be taken to protect American lives from the threat these terrorist groups pose continuously on our border. And I just hope you're tracking the debate. I don't think you can, now that the government's open, pretend that it's over. It's important that you continue to make your voice heard on the Hill. Let them know what you think at 202-224-3121. That's 202-224-3121. I wouldn't tell you to call if I didn't think it had an impact one way or another. Members are especially attuned to what their constituents are telling them, and just don't presume because you think your senator or congressman disagrees with you on the issue. I don't know how you feel about what I'm suggesting, but I think it's up to you as a citizen to let your views be known to Congress. Members are very much aware of the volume of calls that come in. They note who's for what and who's against what, and they take that into account as they proceed, either with votes or in their rhetoric. So I think it's important you take part in this conversation. And of course, Judicial Watch continues its leadership role in upholding the rule of law and immigration. We have been doing this for 15, 20 years at Judicial Watch, fighting for the rule of law and immigration. We fought against tax-funded day worker sites, which are essentially sites where illegal aliens get illegal work, here in local Virginia, in Ruston, Virginia. We fought in California against sanctuary policies in Los Angeles. We have an ongoing lawsuit in San Francisco. That's right, Judicial Watch is in state court right now, challenging the San Francisco Sheriff's Department's sanctuary policy that is both deadly and illegal. We have a taxpayer lawsuit in California. Taxpayers have the right to challenge illegal expenditures of taxpayer funds. And so when you have an illegal policy like the sanctuary policy, taxpayers have standing. So that case is proceeding and it's in discovery, and we have a trial set for July of this year. So we're not going to wait for a wall. Judicial Watch isn't waiting for a wall to take steps to protect the rule of law and to try to uphold immigration enforcement. We are in court. We're in court right now. We've been in court and we'll be in court again. And of course, we've also been on the front lines. Our team went to Guatemala during the first caravan crisis. We're constantly monitoring the border. The latest information I have is that the Border Patrol picks up illegal immigrants. They turn them over to ICE. ICE pretends or alleges, or maybe they're correct in saying so, they don't have enough beds to keep them. So you know what's going on? ICE is taking busloads of illegal aliens and dropping them off at churches and bus depots all over Arizona. That's the intelligence we're getting. So you've got this disconnect where you have the president bemoaning the catch and release policy and his Immigration and Customs Enforcement continuing to engage in it. Now, what should be the congressional response? They should support more funding for more beds, which would allow, to the degree they need the beds, more of these individuals to be detained. But certainly, given the national emergency nature of it, the president can order the military to build the necessary facilities to house every illegal alien who's picked up so they're not caught and released. Catch and release means amnesty, practically speaking, in the sense that these individuals never show up on the radar again unless they're hapless enough or criminal enough to have committed additional crimes and get picked up by the police in a non-sanctuary state or city that results in their eventual capture or recapture by ICE. Otherwise, they're free and clear. They're free and clear. So those are the types of things that the president can do. But Congress has got to get on the ball here as well. The president can take executive action that's lawful and unconstitutional. He's not governing by fiat. The national emergency powers he has have been granted and authorized by Congress, and it wouldn't be unusual for him to do this, despite what the liberal media is trying to pretend otherwise about. So this is a clear and present danger to our country, what's going on in the southern border. It is increased, And I can tell you, because we have the documents from the first time amnesty was talked about. You hear Republicans and Democrats once again saying we need a comprehensive immigration reform program. Well, you know, that just translates as amnesty. They want amnesty for either the so-called dreamers or so-called those with temporary protected status who are here in the United States and otherwise would be here illegally, but for supposedly in their home countries there was a natural disaster, in many cases a natural disaster that took place decades ago, and they're still granted temporary protected status. So there's amnesty on the table for the dreamers, the parents, the illegal aliens who brought these supposed kids into the country, this temporary protected status class, and of course the open borders crowd wants a comprehensive program that provides amnesty to the 11 to 22 million, whatever number you pick, of illegal aliens here. And I can tell you, based on what Judicial Watch has been able to uncover, even talking about amnesty encourages illegal immigration. Talking about amnesty encourages illegal immigration. We found this during the George W. Bush administration, when back in 2007 and 6, he was talking about pushing amnesty. His Border Patrol was doing a survey of the aliens they were picking up, and they were asking them, was talk of amnesty causing you to cross the border? And the response was, of course it is. Are you stupid? Of course we're following, we're coming across the border because of the idea of getting amnesty. And so once the Bush administration found out its Border Patrol was asking these questions, and worse, getting those answers, they tried to suppress it, but Judicial Watch was able to uncover the documents and expose how the government found out and knew, which made much common sense, that illegal immigration was increased as a result of amnesty. So we've got this asylum crisis as well, which needs to be addressed by Congress, which can be ameliorated by having a secure border. And I tell you, the president has got to be creative here, because this is a national security threat. Everyone acknowledges it if you're honest. And when you have additional caravans coming up, they should be talking about interdiction of these caravans, not at our border, but either in Mexico or in Guatemala. I mean, we just, you know, we're deploying troops all over the world. In many cases appropriately, in some cases we're arguing of whether it's appropriate or not, like in Syria or Afghanistan or places like that. But why is there a debate about deploying troops to defend our southern border? Or maybe deploying a contingent of troops to help Guatemala curtail these caravans that are assaulting our borders? This is an organized invasion of the United States by the open borders crowd that is active in these countries, that is organizing these caravans. We've documented it, we've been down there, we know what's going on. Some of it is actually being organized with your tax dollars we're concerned about. We're investigating that. So this is a major issue, and Congress is, except for a few great members, you know, and there's always a contingent in Congress that wants to do the right thing, and you should encourage that. But the reality is, Congress's solution to this is open borders and amnesty, and pretend security. And the president's instincts are Congress isn't going to help him defend the border, and he's going to use the powers he has as president to do it. So he should be encouraged to do that appropriately. Now, I don't want the president to exercise powers he doesn't have, but these are powers he has. You know, no one questions the president sending troops to Syria. You know, there's been no congressional declaration sending troops to Syria. But now there's a question of deploying troops to the border. It's unbelievable. So Judicial Watch encourages you to let your elected members of Congress know what you think. But in the meantime, you can be sure that Judicial Watch will continue to advocate on behalf of the rule of law through our Freedom of Information Act requests, figuring out what's going on. For instance, in the DREAM Act and the DACA amnesty that Obama instituted lawlessly, we found out that his administration just didn't do any security background checks. They stopped doing them because they were getting in the way of stamping him in. I mean, that informs us about how amnesty is going to work. Do you think anyone's going to be really, anyone's amnesty application, which would shut down the government practically speaking, is going to be thoroughly analyzed in terms of security and criminal background checks? It's never happened before, and it won't happen in the future. This is our government we're talking about. They can't get the mail to you on time. What makes you think that they're going to be able to securely analyze the legal status of 11 million people, or 1 million people, or even 500,000 people? They can't do it. But what the military can do is secure the border. And what we can do is enforce the law on the books that requires the apprehension and deportation of those unlawfully present. And once you start enforcing the law, people will realize that we can't be in the United States without fear for being deported and maybe even facing jail time. So they'll go home, and the problem will become much more manageable. I mean, there is a plan to do this. Secure the border, enforce the law.